Blizzard just released what they call Inside the Game. It's their Season 5 like hype trailer explaining the Season 5 new mechanic, as well as kind of getting us all ready for the season. So I haven't seen this yet. Let's go ahead and see what they have to offer.
We've been saying this whole time that hell is coming. Now, hell is here.
It's something that's always present in a Diablo title, and we wanted to make sure that for Diablo 4, returning to hell was a special moment. We referenced the endgame cinematic with Prava and Inarius taking the fight to...
I rewatched all the cinematics in a row from Diablo 1 to Diablo 4. This cinematic might be, I think it's in the top 3, arguably top 2 of all of the best cinematic. I think Diablo 2 still has potentially the best cinematic, all of it with the expansion one, but because it's just hilarious. But this is one of the best cinematics in all of Diablo, in my opinion.
To hell at the end of the game, we really wanted to capture that experience, that sensation of battling throngs of demons in hell. In the Infernal Hordes, you're going to go into this mode, battle waves of demons, and be able to kind of change the shape of the game experience as you play it.
Those of you who have joined us since base game and throughout the seasons will have noticed that we have this phenomenon in the world that's going on called hell tides. Some of you might have noticed that hell tides have been getting a lot worse lately. And
or arguably better. I thought they started kind of boring, but they're actually kind of fun lately. But he means worse as in density. There's more and more mobs, thematically worse.
Now hell is able to pierce the veil that's holding hell back from fully invading Sanctuary and starting to take root in Sanctuary. And we started by asking ourselves some questions. What is the state of Sanctuary right before the Vessel of Hatred happens?
It's a good question, actually.
How has hell changed now that Mephisto isn't there anymore? What are the demons up to?
where is Mephisto? Does he have anything to do with this? Or is this just hell rising of its own accord as the prophecy proclaimed?
It's actually a good
so
question.
we thought to ourselves, how can we make things even worse for the people in Sanctuary?
In this season, you'll very much get to
Sanctuary would not be a good place to live. They kind of constantly have problems. You know, the real estate market here must be dog shit.
dive into those mysteries with some unlikely allies and really get to the bottom of what's happening. So in this season, we play a lot with the notion of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. How far would you go to save Sanctuary, to save your world? What price would you pay? Would you sacrifice your soul for this? You're gonna meet a guy named Lochran, who at first seems sort of usual, but you're gonna quickly realize that something is off, that something is a little strange with this guy.
So Lochran and Estelle are your allies, and they're going to help you return to hell. Both of them are experts in demons, and they're going to use that knowledge to help you return to hell and become more powerful to be able to battle the Infernal Hordes.
Do we get powers
the Infernal
then?
Hordes is a new endgame activity in Diablo 4. It's primarily a wave-based activity. You're going to be fighting wave after wave of demon forces in hell.
So
I do hope they made some changes to it from the PTR. I thought it was a really cool concept. I was actually very excited when it was announced, but playing it felt a little lackluster. So I'm kind of hoping they took some of the feedback that I saw myself and the fellow content creators send to them and maybe make it a little bit more exciting.
if any of you have ever played wave-based gameplay before, you'll know that things escalate.
We've got meteor strikes and all sorts of things that try to keep you on your toes.
One thing the Infernal Hordes does
See, this is a great example of it. It's like Meteor Strike keeps you on his toes,
on your toes.
and he literally just stands in the Meteor Strike and eats it because it kind of doesn't matter. Like, that's a pretty good example of what I was talking about.
One thing the Infernal Hordes does differently is the notion of infernal offers.
In between each wave, you'll make a choice. You'll be granted an infernal offer, and by choosing one of 3 of these offers, you're going to change the game mode in some way, a positive and a negative.
You can imagine from the depths of hell, these hands rise out and offer you both a boon and a bane, a kiss and a curse.
This is a good idea and concept. This is like a roguelite mode, the resettable wave mode. You know, there's the Legal Legends Swarm, the Vampire Survivors, the Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Like, these types of games are actually some of my favorite, right up there with like tower defense style games. So I'm actually like pretty excited for this concept as long as they get the powers right. I do think the powers have to be like exciting. Like, it can't be like 5% more minions and get 7.5% more resources at the end of it. Like, it kind of needs to like mix it up.
This is a temptation that the Fel Council is making to you. And in this temptation, you're offered more power, but that power comes at a cost. And so you get to choose, which temptations you're going to pursue during your infernal run, and then customize your experience from there. One of the guiding principles of this game mode is replay. It's an in-game mode that we want to make sure you're playing over and over again. So we really wanted to create a broad set of enemies for you to fight during this mode.
We've got many
Broad set of enemies is cool, but I think a broad set of powers would be even better. I think we kind of don't care about the enemies as much because they're dying in literal seconds, but a variety in terms of things that we pick the powers. The coolest part about the survivor type of games, or games like Loop Hero, for instance, is you kind of like, as you're going through, you're like building your character different as you're playing the game. So a way to change the way your character fundamentally plays each time, we give it a lot of replayability, in my opinion.
demons to choose from in the lexicon of Diablo's monster families, but we're also going to see some other foes you might not expect.
There are going to be certain types of enemies like goatmen who have been banished to hell that have now rallied to Mephisto and fight by his side. And even some unlucky souls that marched on hell from the Cathedral of Light have now been revived in hell and fight against you alongside the demons.
Basically, everything that hell has to throw at you, we're throwing it at you this season.
The Infernal Hordes has been built.
You know what's interesting about that is this could potentially open up, you know how like people wanted the Paladin class? Couldn't that open up the potential of these like turned holy type of warriors? You know what I mean? People want a Paladin class, but couldn't you do the reverse of that and do like a converted Paladin or an unholy Paladin or something like that? Could be kind of cool.
Multiplayer in mind, but multiplayer is not required. We want to make sure that solo players still have a very fun experience in the Infernal Hordes. Now that said, if you roll in with a party, you're going to have a lot of fun.
This game mode is going to appear in the Eternal and in the Seasonal realm, and that means that once the season is over, it's here to stay.
The Infernal Hordes is unlocked at World Tier 3.
Okay, so it's a permanent edition.
Really what you need to do to access it is earn your way up to World Tier 3 and then complete an Eternal quest line that takes you back to Hell and then unlocks the Infernal Hordes. For
Okay, I wonder what the quest line's like.
We've built out a seasonal progression that'll help them become more powerful in order to be able to confront the Infernal Hordes. First is you can earn reputation, and that reputation
Reputation system is back. This system in the Helltide was actually super nice from the Iron Wolves as a way to get a spark and some additional resources. I like it when we have a reputation system.
A reputation track that earns lots of really cool rewards that'll make you more powerful
That's
as
nice.
you progress onto World Tier 3. The other thing we've built are micro-dungeons called Hell Breaches that offer a glimpse at the Infernal Hordes mechanics.
Oh, Hell
and they
Breaches.
give you a chance to learn the mechanics before you confront the Infernal Hordes at World Tier 3.
That's kind of
The
cool.
final boss in this season is the Fel Council.
And the Fel Council is some familiar faces that you might recognize from Diablo 2.
These were priests of the Zakarum, holy men who were corrupted and basically became vessels of hatred in their own right.
The council members in Diablo 2 tried to help contain Mephisto in his soul stone. And of course, Mephisto being Mephisto, slowly but surely corrupted them. And eventually they had soul stones pierced into their hands and became super powerful. But eventually you overcame them and sent them to hell. Through the course of the story, resummoned them. They've been reborn, slightly new powers, but the same animosity toward you.
What's interesting about this boss encounter is there are 5 council members, but you're only going to fight 3 of them at once.
This allows us to then create many different flavors of the boss fight for the Fel Council. In fact, it's about 10 variations in all. And so every time you go into that council fight, there's a very good chance you're going to have a different fight than the last time you played it. We think it's going to offer a lot of replay for players. What we also introduced during these waves are opportunities for you to earn ether. Earning ether is the resource that you gather during the Infernal Hordes that you can then spend at the end of the activity.
There's going to be a fixed number of
I do hope there was some adjustment in terms of the reward. It did feel like, I know people were taking like an hour at some points at the final tiers of the Infernal Hordes in order to beat it. The rewards felt a little lackluster. Like it felt like I could basically get better rewards just not doing this mode. So for replayability, we need good rewards and it needs to be fun. So hopefully both sides of these things have been fixed.
waves that you have to defeat. And once you've completed all those waves, then you'll face the Fel Council, defeat them, and collect your treasure.
So upon defeating the Fel Council, the spoils of hell will spawn, and then you consume your burning ether and opening those chests. Now, the trick is, when you are playing through these waves, that's your opportunity to earn as much ether as you can. Different events are going to spawn all throughout the waves, around the periphery of the arena, and it's your job to try and defeat as many of those events as possible to try and gather up all the ether you can. Really skilled players are going to be able to really maximize that ether so they get the biggest payout possible at the end after defeating the Fel Council.
So with this burning ether, you'll be able to get new uniques, you'll be able to get new legendaries, you'll be able to get rare materials, things you might have scoured the whole of Sanctuary for in previous seasons or in the base game, but now we offer it to you here, down in the depths of hell.
A lot of these new uniques and legendaries really build on top of this idea that they've been forged in hell. And so they're going to...
I think I'm more excited by new uniques and legendaries than I am the game mode at this point, just because new builds tend to be the thing that's sort of the most fun to play. Maybe, you get a new unique that changes something and it opens up an entirely new build, etc. So that's probably the part I'm the most excited for Season 5.
Have unique looks that you can then make into cosmetics to apply wherever you like. They can also have unique VFX and sound effects to really create the sense that they were forged in hell. One particular one that I enjoy using a lot are boots. Boots, you say? Well, these boots not only have been forged
new
in hell,
boots.
Whenever you use a power with a cooldown, they shoot out a ring of fire that hits everyone around you.
Yeah,
That's
it's pretty
just
cool.
one sample of the types of powers we're exploring.
So death in the Infernal Hordes is quite a big deal. You're returning to the realm of hatred where Mephisto was born. Like, this has to be a big deal.
In the Infernal Hordes, it's a lot like Nightmare Dungeons. You only get a fixed number of revives in order to be able to get to the end of your run. So at lower difficulties of the Infernal Hordes, you'll get a number of revives shared between your party, but at higher difficulty levels, the game is going to start taking away those revives, and that increases the stakes that you have.
If you die too much, you'll be ejected from the mode. In the Infernal Hordes, we created a lot of new ways for monsters to ambush the players, and so I'm pretty stoked to see how our players respond to these.
The seasonal quest line and the eternal quest line, they have lots of little surprises and twists and turns in them. And there's even some surprises we've buried deep within the Infernal Hordes that hopefully players will have a great time with.
Okay, so that is their sneak peek for the August 6th season of the Infernal Hordes, which is Season 5. Basically, the main focus of this season is that roguelite mode. That's what they spend all their time talking about. In my opinion, as long as this has good rewards and some of these powers, like in between each one of these waves, when you get to choose the powers, I think this is the key to it personally. Make the powers actually fun, make it where you're actually like kind of building a build as you go, and then make the rewards juicy enough that people are actually interested in them. And then hopefully the uniques are cool enough that people enjoy it as well. I think they could have maybe put a little bit better footage in here. There's a couple footages where it's like someone just standing auto attacking a couple of times. I feel like maybe to hype it up a little bit better, maybe a little bit better of the footage would have been dope. But anyway, that's their sneak peek into Season 5, which is sort of the season which is kind of a stalling season before Season 6, which is October 8th, which is the launch of Vessel of Hatred. One thing I noticed is in this season, they're kind of doing callbacks to Diablo 2, and in Season 6 with Vessel of Hatred, we're going back to a Diablo 2 area. They're kind of like bringing a lot of Diablo 2 themes back in, and I'm glad I replayed through all of the Diablos recently in a row, because the Fel Council, I would have never known who the Fel Council was without like actually playing through Diablo 2. So that's kind of cool to be able to look back and be like, oh yeah, I recognize those guys. But that's it. What do you guys think? All right. Are you interested in Season 5? I'll put a poll up on the channel too, because I'm actually curious, or you can put it in the comments, how many of you are legitimately interested in playing Season 5? And if the roguelite mode looks fun to you, as that is the major mechanic for this season. But it's going core. It's going to Eterno too. So they're adding on an additional thing that's going to stay in the game. It sounds like literally forever. So that's about it. I'll see you on the live stream, which is basically right now as of the posting of this video.